Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TheRADcast. I've got a joke for you guys tonight. Why did the vampire subscribe to the newspaper? Well, who gives a fuck? Pirates are better.
All right, you guys. So today, what we have for you is a lot of electronics. There's been a lot of good games
Technology.
coming out. So we decided that we're gonna talk about one of our favorite games that
We're
we
just gonna
can't wait
gush.
for. Yeah, we're gonna gush. But before we gush, we're gonna talk about some computers.
Hmm. So, the topic is computers. Why buy a new one when the next day they become, obsolete? Because technology is constantly advancing. So, you spend $800 on this brand new computer, and you're so pumped, and then you wake up the next day and Intel came out with their new brand of processors, or Asus made a next advance in some sort of cooling technology.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, but for me, I would buy if I was gonna buy a computer, I would buy the best computer I possibly could. Period. I would go all out. And even if it is obsolete the next day, me personally, I would just, it's okay for me because I just, use it until that computer becomes unworthy of use.
Well, I agree with that too because when I was about 12, so like 6 years ago,
All right.
I got my first computer for middle school. It was my desktop that I've had up until last year
Yeah.
when I turned 18 and graduated from high school. And the cool thing about computers is that you can spend all this money on them. But the thing is they'll last you years even though they become obsolete the next day.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, let's just go with gaming for instance. If you're using the computer for gaming, which most people, when they buy huge computers with really beefy specs, that's what they're using it for. There's only a few that actually use it for like movies and other things like that.
Yeah.
Dad being one of those people, but you know. So when you buy it for like gaming, games can always be downgraded. You can down the specs and make it easier for it on your computer, and you can also overclock your computer at the same time too to maybe come up to speed with those specs.
Yeah.
So I mean, like they'll last you at least 5 years before you really start to see their slowdown and their unless you buy a really not so great one to begin with. But
Like me.
yeah, like is yours an HP Slim or something like
It's
that?
a HP Slimline. I don't know. All I know is that the reason I got it was because it was in the budget, and actually, I don't really have a good reason for why I bought this computer.
Now, the cool thing, like a tip for people that are actually like looking into making a computer, if you're gonna buy one, buy the parts separately and put it together yourself, or like get a friend or somebody that really knows them to do it for you.
And make sure that you keep your leg against a piece of metal and stay grounded, or else you're in for a shock.
Yeah, that too.
That's always smart.
But like, I mean, if you take, Rudy's computer was, roughly $400, something like
It's
that.
shit.
Yeah, but it was around that price range, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you take $400 and you go and buy the parts all separately, the tower will cost you like $30 because it's just a hollow piece of metal, and
Not always
it's
metal. Sometimes it's plastic.
sometimes.
You can get them
And
for pretty cheap.
you can buy the key components, the motherboard, the graphics card. Make sure your motherboard has a PCI Express port, by the way, because if it doesn't, you can't buy a graphics card for your computer. So
Nice.
yeah, it's kind of something to keep in mind. I made
MS
that.
DOS, here we come.
I made that mistake when I tried to upgrade so many years ago. So, watch out for that. And now I have this laptop, and I'm kind of stuck with it until I raise the money to buy something else.
Nice.
So, but if you're gonna do it, just buy the parts separately, and make sure it has a PCI Express port. And for $400, you'd be amazed with the stuff you can get.
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me. At the time when I bought it, it was a gift, and it's like, hey, you can get a computer and you have this much money to spend it. And I'm like, okay, I'm totally gonna go with that because gifts are cool. It doesn't matter if they're obsolete in the world of computers, but
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I feel like computers. I mean, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I feel I feel like I wish that I could just keep updating my computer constantly without. I wish they would just stop. making them new, and then just like wait until they have like a really big breakthrough, and then just sell it then.
Well, a lot of companies do that. Like Intel, I know them for instance. They don't, release every single like week the next little advance they've made. When you hear about something from them, it's usually something big, like, the i7 core that they have out now, or the way back when it was the Pentium processor, when
Yeah,
I was like, fucking 5 years old. But
yeah, I remember hearing about that.
yeah, it was all over the TV, and you're like, oh, that sounds so cool, and then you
Just right
buy it.
along there with Y2K a little few years earlier.
Yeah, and then the Celeron when that came out, and that a lot of people probably don't know the Celeron. That was before the Pentium, and it was slow as shit.
Well, yeah, no duh.
Yeah. I mean, you can buy a computer these days that has a Celeron like a 2.4 gigahertz, and that sounds really fast because it's kind of like the average speed for computers these days. But the thing is, that speed is like, at least a dual core processor, which can overclock to double that if you really want to push it to its potential. A
Yeah.
Celeron is just one single thing, and it can't process quickly unless you have a lot of RAM behind you, and it's not really compatible with that because it's so old.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it. I mean, I could go on for hours about this stuff because it's one of my biggest interests.
Yeah, so well, we could always go on for hours, but for sake of pacing and for sake of better topics to talk about on future episodes, I think it's time that we move on to the main event.
So I'm sure that any gamer who's listening to this right now, who has been a fan of the Legend of Zelda series,
All 100 of them.
knows that Skyward Sword is being released 9 days from now.
Oh,
Yeah, it's killer. I know.
I just came a little bit in my pants.
I have it reserved. I've had it reserved for about 3 months now, and it's killing me, man. I need to get this game. So, our topic is, just Zelda games in general. We're really just gonna gush on this one because we love this series.
Oh my god, I can't wait for this game, dude.
So let me start from the beginning on my part. When I first was born, like 3 years, skip forward 3 years after all that, gross
boring crap.
Yeah.
All the boring stuff, learning how to walk,
Yeah.
all that boring crap.
Learning how to speak and everything.
Yeah, and then we get to the fun part.
Hey, when I was 3.5 years old, my dad came up to me with his NES system, and he had both the first Zelda, which didn't give you any direction whatsoever to what you were doing, which was, okay when I was a kid, because I didn't really have any idea what I was doing anyways when I played games. Mario was pretty simple, because it was just, press the button and you jump, and then you press the directional buttons and you move left and right. And you just got to try and jump over the mushrooms that have the weird eyes and walk back and forth awkwardly. But, and, you didn't really have to really think about anything when you were that young. And then he also had the second one, which was hard as... Man, I can't... It's unfathomable.
It's ridiculously hard.
I've come back to that game so many times in my lifetime and I still haven't beaten it, which drives me up a wall. And I've spent hours playing that game. It's one of my favorites because it's so difficult, but at the same time, and it was different for the Zelda series too because they went side-scrolling with this one.
Yeah.
It was top-down like the first one was, but when you went to certain spots or you encountered enemies, it would go into the side-scrolling view, and you could jump for once. You had a jump button.
Yeah.
Which none of the other games have. Well, except for the Game Boy ones that have the special items for that stuff, but
Even then, it's not really a jump.
Yeah, but it was so cool, but it was so difficult too because
it was difficult. It was ridiculously difficult. It was like to that point where it's like I just quit.
It was kind of like the perfect example of really insane AI back in that day.
Yeah.
Because the enemies, they were programmed just to go from left to right, and they knew what they were doing. And as soon as you were in their area, they were just like, okay, well, let's go batshit crazy on this guy. And they did. And they would destroy you in like a friggin' second. And it just wasn't fair.
How people got through this stuff without the internet, I have no idea.
And then time passed, and we went to Ocarina of Time and Link to the Past, one of my favorites, Majora's Mask, which was so cool because it took everything that was good about Ocarina of Time and then put it in this really dark scenario where everything was kind of just thrown together. And one of the cool things that, I don't know if this is true or not, but one of the cool things that I found out in Majora's Mask, for any of you people that have actually played the game,
Spoiler
and
alert.
yeah, well, not really, I guess.
Spoiler alert. Either way.
It's not really a spoiler alert.
Okay. Well, if you don't want to hear anything that might be related to a spoiler,
It's not going to be a spoiler.
okay then.
It's kind of like trying to piece the Zelda games together in some form of a chronological order.
All right.
So, 1998, Ocarina of Time came out, and it was amazing, and it raised the bar for games, and it was one of my favorite games ever when I was a kid. I must have beaten it, at least over 15 times.
Yeah.
It was whatever I did on a Saturday when I was bored. And if you remember, in the game, when you walked into the Lost Woods, you would find this girl when you were an adult that would say, "Oh, the guy is missing. He's been lost. He's become a Stalfos. Everybody's Stalfos." And the Stalfos were those really, they were the skeletons with the swords and the shields that would usually appear in groups of two, and they would just, destroy you.
Yeah.
Or attempt to, and if you didn't kill one fast enough, if you didn't kill
destroy you.
both of them in relatively the same time period, the other one that you knocked down would come back up and start fighting again, and then you'd have to get rid of both of them. But in the second game, you're playing as young Link now after all of that has happened.
Mhm.
And when you finish the game, you go back into the woods, which you started in, which could technically be considered the Lost Woods because they looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
And Link had absolutely no idea where he was going.
Mhm.
And now if you skip forward 6 years to, the Wii's release in Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
It was, when the Wii was released and Twilight Princess came out, one thing I found very interesting about the game was the fact that you learned a lot of moves from a guy that, had learned all of this over time that was a Stalfos. He was a skeleton guy. So, a lot of people, one of them being myself, say that in Majora's Mask, when he went back to the woods, that's what he became. And he appears in Twilight Princess, which is supposed to be after the events of those two games.
Okay, so I'm just kind of the chronological order of Zelda is just so crazy.
Skyward Sword is supposed to kind of put it in some kind of line because it's supposed to be the origin story of the whole series, but it's not like it really matters because everybody's just really in it for the game and they want to see one cool game on the Wii before it dies. And anyways,
Yeah.
so
let's gush about the actual game instead of the whole entire series now.
Okay, so the game is like amazing. I've been, reading up on it and watching all these things on it, listening to all these people talk about it, and IGN just reviewed it this morning, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they released it at midnight Pacific time, anyways. But they reviewed it and they gave it a perfect 10, and they called it the best game ever made. They said it redefined the Wii as we knew it. They took motion controls to a whole different level. They redefined the series, and once you play it, you're never going to want to go back to just the normal controller with the buttons because it's just not going to feel the same. Every enemy is like their own puzzle, and you really have to really think to figure this out because the Wii Motion Plus is when you swing it actually tracks your movements really well. So if you swing left to right, Link will do the same. Swing vertical up and down, he will do the same. Swing diagonal, he'll do the same. And if you hold it up and wait, the sword will go blue. And then when you swing it, he'll release like an energy disc, which I thought was kind of cool too. But
I didn't see that.
you use it to get rid of a certain kind of, it's like goddess cubes or something like that. But I mean, I don't want to go too in depth into this because it'll kind of ruin for anyone who's going to buy this game. It'll ruin the surprise.
Us.
Yeah. But I mean, and then the visual style is just something all in itself too.
Looks amazing.
Like the Wii's hardware is very, very down on itself. It's got a good processor behind it, but it can't do really HD like, the 360 or the PS3 or, that computer that cost $800 that's obsolete tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so Nintendo learned from their old game Wind Waker back in 2003, which took into a very anime-ish, cel-shaded, cartoonish style.
Which, FYI, was the bomb.
And it really redefined the way Link was in general because you felt he was a little more personable because the expressions that he took and everything were very, very easy to read and they were brought to life along with the world around him.
Yeah, because we all know he's a
mute.
Yeah, we all know that he's just such an emotional man. He's, yeah.
Well, I
His
would too.
silent facial expression.
If I had to save the world, let's see, count the poster: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 14 times, man. I had to save some dumb blonde who just couldn't stay away from trouble. I'd be pretty full of emotion too. But
Talk to Mario about that, man.
yeah.
At least Zelda can fight back sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes is the key.
Which is another cool thing about this game. Zelda isn't just that look at me, I'm Princess Peach, you got to come save me character this time. She's actually
A badass.
a really close friend to Link, and you spend a lot of the beginning of the game with her,
She's
talking to her, interacting with her, and she's there the whole time. She even sticks up for you at one point. And it's just Nintendo took it to a different level, putting her on a more personable level that you feel.
You actually know who she is now.
You don't feel like you just have to go save her because the game's telling you to. You feel like you want to save her because you know that Link has some connection with her.
Yeah. Let it be known that most of the Zelda games, I honestly never paid attention to the words and everything. This time around, I think that I might actually do that, and hopefully we're going to come out with just one episode, a review of this game.
Definitely.
Just the whole episode on this game.
I think it's going to be one of the first game that I go to the midnight launch for, because it's on a Sunday.
I know, right?
My dad doesn't have work the next day, which means the two of us can go and get it. We'll come home at 1, I'll pop it in the game, I'll play it till 8 o'clock in the morning.
I know, right?
And then I'll play it all day.
Okay. Alex.
Rudy. 2.
Alex.
What?
Why'd you... Are you going to do a 3, 2, 1 then?
Fine.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Had some difficulties, but now we're back. We decided that since we have no idea where we left off, we're just going to continue on to our next topic, and we'll finish up our Zelda gushing later when the game's actually out. But we're going to move on to graphics versus aesthetics, which most people don't know about.
Well, people do. Most people say.
They know about graphics.
They're like, holy shit, look at them graphics! But, I, for one, prefer aesthetics over graphics. I like the way the game plays better than the way it looks.
Exactly.
So, let's compare two completely different genres, but let's compare them just because I feel like these are good comparisons. So,
okay. Skyrim
released yesterday. Delicious. Okay, everybody is flipping out over that game. IGN rated it a 9.5. It was, everybody's saying it's good. It's good.
Zelda's better.
I, for one, am very, very heavily contemplating picking it up, and I've never really played any of the Elder Scrolls games before.
I'm not a huge fan.
This is the first one that actually seems somewhat appealing. You have Skyrim, which looks visually stunning. They've paid a huge attention to detail in this game. It's everything from the ground up is just ridiculous. From the towns to the people to the way they speak to the way their face looks to the dragons that rape you mercilessly. It's just amazing, and the water and the mist and the backgrounds, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you have a game like Skyward Sword. Now, this may be a little biased because we're very pro Zelda, but
go Zelda.
There's something about the art style that's just very, very engrossing. It's very attractive.
It's not okay. So the thing about Skyrim, even though it's a fantasy game, is that what they're trying to use is photorealism, which they're trying to make it look as real as possible.
Which is okay, and they do a hugely great job on that. But
yes, but when it gets to a certain point when you try to make it look real, it starts to look unreal. And we as humans, since we see each other every day, we start to realize that when we see something that's not human, and we know it's not human, we can see all the little flaws with it.
Now, that's not to say that thinking about it, it really doesn't fit into this topic because when you think of aesthetics, it's usually gameplay versus graphics. There's a very nice balance when you think of aesthetics because it's visually pleasing, but at the same time it works and it functions smoothly and it just feels good.
Yeah.
Now, Skyrim is both of those. It looks great and it functions and it runs smoother than any of the games that, Bethesda has ever put out before. Every single game I've played from them has been very glitchy.
Yeah.
So I guess I should retract my last statement saying that I've never tried any of the games because I have. But they were never good enough to really keep me engrossed. It just every time I started to get into it, I would run into something that would pull me right back out.
Yeah. Kind of like if you were playing a fantasy game and all of a sudden you just started hearing like some new age techno. It'd just be weird.
Yeah. So like I'll use Oblivion for instance.
Okay.
So Oblivion, it was the first one they put out for the new gen consoles back when the 360 and all that came out.
Yeah.
And I remember it also being one of the first games that my stepdad got for his computer. Going back into that whole technology obsolete thing.
Yeah.
And so he got this computer and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be awesome." And he sat down to go play it and the thing wouldn't even play. His computer could handle the graphics of the game, but it couldn't handle the graphics of the cutscene. And it would always shut itself down as soon as it opened the opening cutscene.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. There should be a way you can skip that.
Mm-hmm.
And they patched it later, but, it's no biggie, I guess. I mean, he needed a new one anyways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, like when I was playing it on the Xbox so many moons ago, I was really starting to get into it because I finally started to notice the whole main quest and started to realize it. And I went to the Oblivion Gate and I was like, "Oh, this place is so cool and the monsters are so challenging." And I actually find myself, really thinking about this game now. It's not just mindlessly hacking and slashing and stuff, which is majority of the game once you get to the level anyways. And then I leveled up. Well, I've never spent more time in a start menu until I leveled up in that game. Well, I've got all these skills, and what do I do? What do I level? Oh, well, let me read each one thoroughly and really think about how I built my character. So I'll go over to this next screen and read everything else on it. Just way too much thinking. Which is okay if you're playing like a strategy game, but not a RPG fantasy adventure game like, The Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
And they fixed that in the new one, which is why I think really makes me want to play it now, and that's really why I'm contemplating it. Now, Skyward Sword, on the other hand, is like, wow. Okay, so they've got very nice, smooth visual style, and it's, you can really clearly define every single character and their expressions. But then the gameplay. Now, I haven't played the game myself, but just from looking at it, I can say, holy shit, this is something else. This is smooth on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
By the way the enemies move when you attack them, the way they react, and how it's just like lightning fast, and then yourself, just as you are. He's moving and he's breathing while you're fighting, and you can see that, and it's just something all on itself.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. I mean, we're just kind of gushing.
Mm-hmm.
So
gush away.
That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say on that.
So for me, aesthetics, I'm gonna compare two games that we haven't even been talking about. So I'm gonna compare two games when it comes to aesthetics versus graphics. So one game that I can note that has really great aesthetics.
Wait. Is this going to cause a fanboy war?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I try and be unbiased on all of my
okay.
on all of my things.
Okay.
So one game that has good aesthetics is Battlefield 3.
Okay.
Now,
before you go any further with that. Okay. Now, I know you're going to compare it to Modern Warfare. Well, Failwar, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So, Battlefield 3, it's the second Battlefield game I've picked up. And it is it's the one that I've spent the most time playing. It's very fun, it's very addicting, but that doesn't say it doesn't have its flaws. Now,
I know it has flaws.
Now, Modern Warfare, on the other hand, it's Well, let's go for the third one, for instance. It just came out, yeah?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a few days ago.
Yeah, and they're using the same visual engine as before.
Hmm.
And I'll let you take over from here.
All right, so one thing I noticed about Battlefield is that, okay, I downloaded the thing at the beginning when you start the game, and it says, hey, you can download this thingamajig here that makes your textures look really sexy in HD. So I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So I did it. Now, one thing I noticed is that this game isn't really that amazing looking. It's just everything about it complements itself. So the lighting style, the way your character moves, the explosions and the fuzzing of your eyes when you play, it's just everything about it complements the style of the
They
game.
paid a huge attention to detail in this game, and it really shows. And it's cool.
And they spent so long making this Frostbite 2 just for this game. Just for this game. Nothing, no other reason. They spend so much time on this game. Now, Modern Warfare. Okay, I have nothing against Modern Warfare. Well, I do, but I have. Okay, if I'm saying this from a non-biased point of view, it's really not that bad of a game. It's okay. I mean, I played it for a good while there. I played the first Modern Warfare, and then after that, I stopped. Mainly because of money reasons, but that's not the point. So this game, so Modern Warfare 4, it was when it came out, and it was the Xbox 360, the start of online play, and how it was getting really big, and it was a fun game. I'll say it. It was a fun game. It was fast-paced. It got everyone's attention. It was, fun. It was first-person. It was like Counter-Strike on a console, to be honest with you. And the only reason I don't like Call of Duty, it's not because of Battlefield. That's not the reason I don't like it. I don't like it because it's a carbon copy of the original Medal of Honor, which still bothers the crap out of me, FYI.
Well, I mean, I feel like I gotta argue the second side so we don't get trolled big time.
All right, well, we're gonna get trolled anyway. Well, at least I am.
So, that's Rudy, by the way.
Trolls get at me.
That's Rudy for you trollers out there.
What, son? Bring it on. Yeah.
So, basically,
I'm a pussy. Don't listen to me.
Yeah. So, Modern Warfare, well, just Call of Duty in general. It was one of the first online games I ever played when I was a kid. My stepdad introduced it to me, and he helped me get online and everything on the first one, and it was really cool, but it was also really, really frustrating. And, I mean, a lot of you are just going to say, well, you suck. Well, yeah, okay, fine, maybe I do. I'm not the quickest when it comes to reflexes, but I've gotten a lot better since I've grown up. And so, like, Call of Duty is fun. Yes, I'll give it that. But the thing is, I can't sit down and play it for very extended periods of time. Now, on its graphical note, I'll say that when the second one came out versus what Battlefield is right now, well, it's still kind of got the upper hand in visuals. But the thing, and it runs at 60 frames, which, Rudy, I know you're going to say something to this, just because Battlefield runs at 30 frames, which is still good because that's enough for it to be smooth and look nice. But when the explosions start really going off and you're getting trolled by 3 tanks, and it shows that it slows down considerably. And you often find yourself dying, going, "What the hell just happened?"
That hasn't happened to me yet, but whatever.
That happened to me when a house fell on my head. But yeah, three tanks and each attacking a core point of the house. Yeah, that it goes down pretty fast. You'd be amazed.
Yeah.
And so, Modern Warfare 2, and I guess 3 in this case, seeing how it uses the same engine. So, it's still got that graphical advantage, just because everything is very glossy and it looks nice, and it's just the way it is.
Maybe to you, it doesn't really look nice to me.
They're like Rudy said before, they're going for this photo realism thing,
which makes everything look really brown and shitty.
Gears of War, and so
see, but the difference between Gears of War is that Gears of War is so somber and it's so serious.
Yeah, and
everyone who plays Modern Warfare 3 online, which is the main reason people buy that game, anyone who says otherwise is full of shit. What? I'm serious. People don't buy first-person shooters People don't buy Call of Duty or Battlefield for the campaign. I'm sorry. I'm not even gonna try and toot Battlefield's horn. The campaign is so far has been really uneventful and it's hard to get into, and it's just suckish. Call of Duty is like a Michael Bay movie.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, like on the Battlefield's half,
I haven't gotten into it. I really haven't. I mean, I love the way it looks. It all looks really nice, but the story just hasn't caught me. The actual story part.
I do, however,
I
want to
like
give
the
credit.
missions. I like the missions, but I don't like the story that goes along with it.
I want to give credit to the first level though. When I got my game on that Saturday night, and I came home after I hung out with my friend, and the first thing I did was install my disc. And I just sat there looking at my screen for 15 minutes while both my discs installed, so it would run super smooth. As soon as I started up the single player campaign and was thrown onto this train with no idea what I was doing, just all I knew was that from the detail I could see on my character, I had handcuffs on my hands and nothing on my nothing. I was armed with nothing, and there was all these guys shooting at me. I was pretty engrossed right there. I was like, well, shit, what am I supposed to
Yeah,
do?
that first level. Okay, maybe I'm a fanboy, but that first level had me like squealing. But whatever.
It was good, and I mean I haven't played Modern Warfare 3, so I can't really speak to what that story is like this time. I mean I enjoyed the last two. They were interesting, but you know if they were going for realism, they were pretty far from home with the events that happened. But it was a cool story of conspiracy, and Shepard's a bitch, but you know.
Yeah, see, I didn't even pay attention to the story because it didn't get me. It didn't have that feel to it. Like, okay, so when I read, I like to write. I dabble in it. I'm not very good, but I when I read a book, I'm looking for that thing that really gets me interested. Now, in a game, I assume, I mean, it can't be much harder to get somebody to be interested in your game. Is it really that hard to write a good story for it? I mean, people back in the NES days did it better than Call of Duty has, and Battlefield has. Battlefield's probably a little bit
Oh
worse
my
off on this
god.
point.
You're gonna get trolled so bad for that.
Yeah, I don't care. Battlefield is worse off than Call of Duty when it comes to story. At least Call of Duty has memorable people.
Okay. Well, before this
The
becomes
main character of Battlefield's story sounds like a shit stain. Like, no, seriously, Sergeant Blackburn? Come on. That sounds like something that you call a shit stain. Like, no joke. I'm not even lying right now.
Okay, well, before this becomes really one-sided, and before we waste like another 10 minutes talking on this, let's start going over the hump. So, where we're going with Modern Warfare compared to other FPSs, you guys can duke it out as much as you want on Battlefield versus Modern Warfare. I don't care.
Skyrim's better. No, I'm just kidding.
Skyrim with the sword. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know, but that's like the thing that's going around now. Battlefield fanboys have shut up.
You can see why IGN gave both Battlefield and Call of Duty the same score.
Yes,
So that people would
Metacritic
stop
success.
trolling.
Don't listen to them.
But so like
Assholes.
one thing to think about before we go into the next topic is just like FPSs in general. Like think about where we started with games like Wolfenstein and Doom, and well, there were even games before that before we entered that quote unquote 3D era. But you know,
Yeah.
and just think about stuff like that and where it's come from there. I mean, have we really been making an advance
Not really.
in terms of
Hitboxes are a little better, not in Call of Duty. Hitboxes are better, graphics are better, but it's the same idea, just
yeah.
reused over
I mean,
and over and over.
I the other day found this cool site where I could play DOSBox games online, and I found the original Doom, and I was engrossed in that for 2 hours. It was entertaining. There was almost no story behind it. I had no idea where I was fighting these mutant humans, I guess.
I don't
I
know.
don't. And all I know is they had guns and they wanted to kill me. But I had no idea where I was fighting these guys. So instead of focusing on more of like I wondered about the story because it wasn't explained to me. But it was more in the visuals that I was interested in. I really liked the fact that when I got shot or hurt, my little face down at the bottom of the screen there would do the same thing. And as you took damage over time, like if you went from 100% HP to 80%, he would start bleeding.
Hmm.
Like he'd have blood dripping out of his nose or something.
Yeah.
And every single time you went further and further down, more would happen to you. And by the time you were like at 50%, your eyes were red and you were just kind of like, your character looked like he was about to fall asleep because he was like so beaten down and tired. And it just became really cool to the point when you were at 1% health, when pretty much your whole face had shut down and you're losing color and, you know, you're just about done. It's clear that the next shot's going to kill you even if you're not looking at your HP to the other side of the screen.
Hmm.
I mean, it was just cool, you know. And
Yeah.
when you're moving around, when you turn, he looks with you. His eyes move on his face to which direction you're turning in. It was like they couldn't really pay much attention to detail because they were limited by the graphics, but they found a cool way to do it.
Hmm.
And you know, maybe it's just me, but so anyways, um, our last topic is more of a realistic one.
Yeah. Speaking of that photorealism.
Yeah, let's add some photorealism and glossy brown textures to this Gears of War. And and we'll say, well, seeing how almost everybody in the Radcast is either in college or entering college,
Thank you.
yes, we would like to, elaborate in on it a bit. For all of you people that haven't gone to college yet, or getting to that age,
Or I've passed it.
or have passed it, or supposed
Hopefully
to
not
be,
past it, because if you've passed it and you're watching this,
kudos to you. Keep it up.
no, you would, yeah, but that's a
So,
little. That's a little on the. Never mind. I'm just not gonna judge people because I want views. I'm a whore. Anyway,
so, so let's put it in really blunt terms. College,
sucks.
why does it suck ass?
Yeah.
Well, let me say from personal experience that, well, for one, I'm not going to my college anymore. I'm going to be leaving once my semester is over in December, and I'm going to be switching to computer science because architecture is not my thing, and I'm more interested in computers and games and stuff. Although I'm not going for anything game related, so don't get ahead of yourself there. But if you listen to me and really paid attention to me at the beginning, you could see that I was really hyped up and excited about this computers stuff. Now, college in the sense of like going to my campus and stuff, it's cool because unlike Devin, he takes online classes while I actually go to the campus myself. I take an hour and a half train ride there just to get there, which sucks. Unless I have some new music to listen to. And when I get to the school, because it's a night school, I don't spend any time with the people I'm around, really. I just kind of go there, do my work, and then leave.
Yeah.
So in the long run, that hurts me because I have nobody I can really turn to, if I run into a problem or, I get behind on something, I can't turn to anybody and ask for help because they won't understand my dilemma because they're not working with me and they're not seeing me through it and they're not dealing with the same thing because they're probably not even on the same project.
Hmm.
So that sucks. And don't even get me started on the disconnection you have from your, professors. And most people will say, oh, well, it's college and that's what happens. Your professors don't care. They just want to line their pockets with money. And for the most part, that's true. But, if you're very personable and you're very outreaching and you're very participative and, your professors take a liking to you and that can sway both in your direction with or against you. I mean, it depends how you act, but
Yeah.
it just sucks because no matter how much you outreach at the school, you won't get what you're looking for.
Hmm.
By the way, this is a BAC. Yeah, but this is just my opinion.
So
Don't even be started on the prices. Jesus
okay,
Christ.
well that's what I'm getting started on. So the other day I went. I want to be a chef. I'm going into culinary arts. I'm gonna get a bachelor's degree, and the first thing that we did was we went to the Art Institute in Sacramento, and we went there for a day. And we got to see the institution. We got to see the campus. I got to meet all 5 kids who were there. I got, and we went around and we walked around the kitchens and stuff. There were some other people there who were into computer advertisement, movie making, fashion. And we walked around and they're like, oh, it's going to be awesome. It's so cool. We're a private school. We're awesome, et cetera, et cetera. Did I mention we're awesome? But we walked around. It was quite amazing. I just thought it looked so awesome, and there was only like 5 kids every classroom. It looked so amazing. It looked like a place I wanted to be. And then and then at the very end, they were like, oh well, it's easy to pay for this. You got all these scholarships and contests and blah blah blah. And like, well, you can sign up for early acceptance, and we can come and have you talking about finances. And that's when I was like, oh no. Oh no. Now, we went in 2 days on Wednesday. This is when we went in. And we talked to this lady about finances, and I realized that this school would cost me and or my parents. I'm not sure. My mom told me that, hey, you should just go for it, and I'll support you, and if you do your work, then we'll pay for it. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But at the same time, I'm not just going to let my parents do that, because I have my own set of morals.
Let me rain on your parade a little bit. Sorry.
No rain.
Going to college.
I have an umbrella, so what? Get at me.
Well, this is kind of an umbrella in itself.
Okay.
When you go to college and you apply for financial aid, you can only take out so much money as a student, especially if you're dependent and still living with your parents. The max you can take out, at least in Massachusetts, that the government will fund us, so it's probably the same all around the U.S. because the government's giving out this money themselves, is $5,500, which doesn't do jack shit unless you're going to a state school and you live in state. Because every other school is ridiculously expensive. BAC, cough, cough. So what happens is when you get your loan, yours is a mixture of unsubsidized, which does not gain interest.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah, I get $5,000 something.
Yeah, which gains a small amount of interest, and that's nothing big. Like, that's easy for you to handle because when you get out of college, you're only going to have like $20,000 to pay off in loans. That's
what's cool about this school that I'm going to is that during school they give you a part-time job in the field that you want to be in.
Co-op. And it's co-op. That's what we call it over here.
Oh, well, yeah. They give us part-time jobs. You can get one on school campus, or they'll give you one in your field, and then after
study jobs.
And then after you graduate, they give you a real job in your field. After all the connections that you've made, after they give you internships and part-time jobs, you get a real job in the field that you want, which is quite awesome.
Networking is a big thing for people to remember. You can get anywhere if you network with the right people. You'll always have connections that way.
If you know rich people, more often than not, you're going to learn a lot of stuff about rich people.
Yeah. But anyways, so you'll get your little loan, and then your parents will have to take out a loan themselves, unless they're planning on paying out of their pocket for the rest of it, or you're planning on paying out.
They're planning on me getting all the scholarships. What they're planning on.
Okay, well, yeah, but if the parent plus loan is the kind of catch-22 there, because that's the real problem. And I'll keep it short and sweet because I don't want to bore everyone with numbers, but let's say you take out, like a $12,000 loan in your parents plus loan because the school's $16,000, you're only getting so much money towards it, and your parents have to take out the remaining.
Yeah.
And don't forget there's also taxes that apply and all this other stuff. And so your parents take out a $12,000 loan. Now, the parent plus loan that they take out collects about like anywhere from 5 to 10% interest every year after you get out or after you finish. 6 months after you are done with the school, it starts collecting that interest. Now, I'm no genius at math, but if you take out a $12,000 loan and you multiply that by 10%, you're getting about another $1,200 added every year that you don't touch that. And most people that go to college, unless they switch their majors like me, stick with that college for a long time. So you're looking at more like a $36,000 to a $48,000, which is quite a big piece when you're done.
Yeah, well, see, the cool thing about this school, and which is why my mom is okay with this, is that she can use most of this on credit, and they let her and my dad take loan this money, and without barely any interest. I think that they get like almost like 2 or 1% every month, or not month, year. Um,
Is that while you're in school or after you leave, though?
that is while I'm in school, and after I leave, if they still can't pay it, then the interest gets waived.
Wow.
If they can get a loan from credit,
Mm-hmm.
which relies on my parents having a good credit score, which my mom said that they do, so I'm assuming that they can get this, but it all has to do with some credit. And the thing is that when we were talking about this lady's looking at me, and she's talking to me. She's not even talking to my mom, and I'm like, "Why are you looking at me? My mom has the one. My mom has the wallet. You're not convincing me. I'm already sold." But um, she basically said, "Hey, if you're gonna do 12, I think credits, I think they call them, or maybe that's just my school, but 12 credits every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, then it's gonna take 4 years for you to get your bachelor's degree. And do you want to know how much that's gonna cost my mom a month?
Oh, okay.
About $900 every month. That's a lot of money. People don't have that kind of money just laying around."
None at all.
Exactly, which is why, and if I get another scholarship, then it goes down to like 400, and if I get like all of them, it gets down to like 200. But even still, it's a lot of money.
That's gross.
Yeah, so
College is an
ridiculously
amazing thing for
expensive.
your life because it'll land you in such a good position, but you make sure it's something you want to do.
Yeah, don't go down the path of Alex. And also, I know
Oh,
this girl who's sorry. I know this. I know. I'm sorry. I love you. Anyway, I know this girl, and her parents want her to be a geneticist. No.
wow.
Yeah. Now, I've looked up this job. It's really not that great paying, unless you're like, discovering some crazy shit. You're really not gonna get anywhere. And I mean, I like her a lot, and she's a smart girl, but it's really not worth it. I mean,
Don't do what your parents want you to do. Do what you want to do, and put some
exactly.
serious thought into it.
You
Seriously.
can't just like choose it because your parents want you to do it. And the thing that bothers me the most about it is that, I mean, I don't even know what she wants to do. I don't think she knows what she wants to do. She hasn't thought about it because her parents said, "Hey, geneticist, go now." Now,
Do it.
yeah, do it.
I don't know. It's a frustrating subject, just in itself.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, it just seems to me that you can't. So when you go to college, you can't pick something that you're not gonna like, or else life is gonna suck. And there's no point in making a living off something that sucks when you have a chance to do something that you really love.
Take me for instance. I'm
Okay,
taking architecture right now.
I'll take you
Yeah, everybody can do architecture.
in every way
I
except the gay
can
way.
I can continue what I'm doing now with my high school diploma because I took it in high school. That's all it takes. You just need to know how a foundation goes up and all this other stuff. And that may sound like a lot, but once you really start dealing with it on a daily basis, you come to know it really well. And I mean, if you were to ask me a question about architecture in general or what I do or anything, I could drone on for hours about all these numbers and all this stuff that I know to be true in this field. And I could make you a full set of plans to
Hmm.
build yourself an addition or a house in general because I know how it goes together and I've done it before.
Yeah.
Because I have a job working in this field at the moment, which I'm going to have to give up for switching. Now, computer science, which is what I'm going to be going into, is not necessarily easier than architecture. It's actually going to be more work
Hmm.
because it's dealing with it's dealing with a factor that's constantly changing. Architecture changes, but not nearly as much as computers do,
Yeah.
as we were saying earlier. Learning to run on different platforms and program for different things and deal with these different things now. Computer science, I'm going to be learning a majority of networking in my school, which is, stuff like Hamachi and things like that.
Hmm.
And just linking computer to computer and transferring information and making sure you can link all these computers together in a mesh network. And
FYI, this is all based on a true story.
yeah, yeah. Oh, jeez.
Amachi, we're looking at you. Anyway,
So, like, me and Rudy, deal with this all the time because we live miles, years.
Years? It's a little.
Yeah, well, if I was to walk, it'd be years, but you
Okay.
know.
Okay then.
So he lives on the other side of the U.S. and he's West Coast, I'm East Coast, and that's way far. And we're young
West
and
side. You can't see my hands, but they're doing that stupid West thing. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, East Side, homies, and but I'm brown, so I can kind of pass. It's so where was I going with
I love
this?
you, Alex.
So we're
That was awesome.
thank you. We're trying to get the server up and running so the two of us can play our game together, and it's being stupid, and I can't relay my tunnel is directly connected to his, so he can suck all the bandwidth out of mine that he wants, but he can't, like, I can't take it back from him, which is where the connection gets interrupted and it just doesn't work, and I can't find my way around it, and it's driving me nuts, which is why, but I find myself spending hours of unwasted time.
On my computer, ruining my static IP address.
It's wasted time because it's not hindering me because we do have ways around it, but I really want to figure it out. It's interesting and it's challenging me, and that's why I think I'm really going to love this. And if you're going to go to college, make it something like that. Make it something that it's got to be challenging. You need to get up every day and feel yourself being challenged. And you need to, when you overcome that challenge, you need to get some kind of satisfaction over it. And I'm not just talking about a paycheck with X amount of dollars enclosed to you.
Although that's nice. If
That
you can
is,
get both of them at the same time, that'd be a choice.
and when I first got my job, that was how it felt because I didn't understand architecture. But then I got it in like, 3 months, and I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And look where I am. Now I'm stuck in a college, and I have to finish this semester, and I still have this nice, gigantic loan I have to pay off before I go to my next one, which I'll be able to handle. But,
Yeah.
So, that's college, and it sucks. And, just make sure you make the right choice. I guess that's all we can say.
Exactly. Don't just do the first thing that pops in your head. Really think about it.
Mm-hmm. So, on that note, I think we're all done.
I think we are too.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, that was the TheRADcast. And we'll see you later. Modern Warfare 3 sucks. You guys need to get over it.